friends, welcome back to the Photoshop Basics for Scrapbooking class. After last week's lesson where we talked about the basics of taking a journaling card and altering it into a different size that'll work for you in the project that you are working on, so maybe taking a 3x4 and changing it into a 6x8 paper. Today we're going to go a little bit further and talk about some advanced alterations. So how can you take a card that maybe the orientation isn't correct? So maybe you want to take a 4x6 and turn that into a 3x4. Or maybe you want to take a 3x4 and turn that into a 4x6. Or maybe you just want certain pieces of the journaling card and not all of it. Today I'm going to show you how you can use Photoshop and Photoshop Elements to alter a card in a more advanced way so that you can create something completely new for your own scrapbooking needs. So let's head over to the computer so I can show you some advanced techniques for altering journaling cards. Hey friends, welcome back over here to my desktop. As per usual, we are going to be starting inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud and then moving into Elements after going over all the processes here. So today we're talking about advanced alterations for changing up the sizes of your journaling cards. Or just advanced alterations in general. So first we're going to start by opening up one of our, we can do both of these. Let's start with the June Stories by the Month card here that we talked about a little bit last time. And I'm going to show you how you can take this card and turn it into an elongated card. So right now, this June Stories by the Month card is a 3x4. I want to create a 3x8 where this section that says this and that is much longer in order to fit a lot more text, or I could actually put a photo in there as well. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to start by clicking on the crop tool, and I want to crop this down to 3 inches by 8 inches at 300 pixels per inch. Now, I want this to go all the way to the edge of my card, and then I'm going to drag my card up to the very top of my crop. Once I have it there, I will hit enter. And let's go ahead and get this fit to where it's fit on the screen, or actually we could do print size, that might be even better. And now you can see that I've got a 3x8 where half of it is that June card and half of it is just plain white. So in order to get this portion to go further down, what I'm going to do is come over to my favorite tool of all time, the marquee tool. I'm using the rectangular marquee tool. It's generally what I use is either the marquee or the ellipse. But today we're just going to use the rectangular one, at least for this card. Once I have that selected, I'm going to go right underneath where it says this and that, and off to the side of my card. Then I'm going to click and drag to create a rectangle that goes down to the bottom of my card. Once I have my box where I want it to go, I am going to unselect or let go of my mouse, and it's going to give me the marching ants all around that rectangle. Once we have this, I will right click in the middle, and it's going to give me a list of options that I can do with the space that I have highlighted. I want to say layer via copy. So we're just going to click on that. So what that does is it creates a new layer. I'm going to hide my background so you can see it. It creates a new layer that is a copy of the portion of the card that I had selected. Okay, so underneath that, if I hide the new layer, we still have the card behind it. So with both layers visible and with the new layer selected, I'm going to go to my move tool and I'm going to move the section down so that it creates an additional portion here at the bottom. So now I can do a couple of things. I can either, let's zoom in and make sure everything looks okay. It sure does. I can do a couple of things. I can merge these two layers together and then do the same process again. Actually, let me show you that first. So if I select both of my layers, right click and merge the layers together, right? So now this is just one element. Then I can use that marquee tool again and do the same thing again, going all the way down to the bottom. I have the marching ants. Right click and layer via copy. Use the move tool because this layer is still selected and on top, and I can move that all the way down. I might use my arrow keys just to make sure. It's all the way down to the bottom. And that fills in my entire 3x8. To finish this off, I would select both of these layers, merge them together, so right click and merge the layers, and then save this as the June this and that 3x8 journaling card. The other way you can do the same thing is instead of the original merge right here, so I still have just this one portion and then the card up on top. With this selected, I can copy it and paste another part of it. So this, I would say, with layer 1 selected, I would say Control C and then Control V to paste, or you can also use the edit, copy, edit, paste. So then I'll take that same portion, I'm going to move it down so that it's in line, paste one more on top and move that down until it's all the way at the bottom. So now I have a bunch of layers and each of these is just a little portion, right, of the whole piece here. I can merge them all together all at once. And now I have that 3x8 card again. So you can do this in a couple of different ways. It just depends what seems most logical to you. Okay, so that's taking a 3x8 and turning it into, a 3x4 and turning it into a 3x8. Okay, we're gonna say no. Now, let's open up another card that works in a similar way. This one is a card from an older paper person collection. And what I like about this card is that it has a little bit of text at the top here, a place to check off some boxes, and then it also has these two pieces at the bottom, this documented by and the date. So maybe I want to turn this one also into a 3x8. So I would start by cropping it to 3x8, just like we did before. So I'm going to expand this to the edges, move the card up to the top, and then we're going to go ahead and crop that. We can use the magnifying glass to view it in print size, right? And then we're going to do the same thing, marquee tool. This time I'm going to go underneath the first little check boxes and all the way down to the bottom, right click and layer via copy. So then I can move that layer down, but I want to make sure that I am covering up these little fields at the bottom there. So I'll merge those together and then we'll do this again. So all the way down to the bottom, right click, layer via copy, move tool, and then we're going to move this down to the bottom. Just like that, merge everything together, and now we have this card where we've got more space to add text to. Or you could print a photo and put a photo in there as well. All right, so those are the 3x8s. Next, let's talk about turning a card, maybe like this one that says, let's do summer. Let's turn this into a 6x8. Do I want to do a 6x8? No, let's do a 10x8. So I think for this one, just so I can figure out the right scale, I'm going to create a new canvas and I'm going to size my canvas at 10 inches wide by 8 inches tall, 300 pixels per inch. Looks good. Now, let's come over to this card here. I'm going to select it all. So Control A or File, no, Edit. Where is it? No, it's going to be Select. Select and then select all. And then I'm going to copy. So Control C for copy. and paste, Control V for paste, over here on the 10x8. So now that I have this card here in the middle, I want to transform it, so Control T, which allows me to get the lines around the outside, and we're going to expand this, I think maybe so that it fills in the whole space here. That looks good. Now, I can do a couple of things. One, I could, let's merge all of this together. So here's the first thing I could do. I could take that marquee tool and go right above this yellow line all the way down to the bottom of the yellow line, okay? And with the marching ants around this section, I can right click and layer via copy again. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag it down. Let's see if that's going to give me enough space. Oh yeah. So we can drag it down in order to create an additional box here at the bottom. So it fills in the entire 10x8 and gives me 6 spots to fill in. So I could merge these two layers together, which I'm just selecting Control Shift and the letter E to merge them, but you can also come over into the layers panel, make sure everything is selected, and then right click and merge. So we could do this, right? Where we've got now 6 sections. Another thing you could do to alter this card is to actually make the spaces bigger. So what I would do, and this is going to be a little bit more complicated, but what I would do would be to take the marquee tool, and I'm going to select each of these titles. So I'm going to start here, right click, and this time I'm going to layer via cut. Now here's what happens when you layer via cut. If I move this, it's no longer there. It creates it as its own element, essentially. So I'm going to layer via cut that one and hide it. Then we're going to go back to the background again, put a box around Let's Do Summer, layer via cut again. So now we have another layer here. We're going to hide it. Come back again. And we're just going to do the same thing down the line. So hide it, click on the background, and layer via cut, hide it, click on the background, and layer via cut and hide. Okay, so this gives us just the yellow lines with no title. Now, with this done, what I want to do is make each of these sections a little bit bigger. So I'm going to use my marquee tool yet again, making sure my background is selected, and I'm going to select maybe about halfway through the box down to the bottom. And this time I'm going to layer via copy because I want the original yellow lines to still be there. So with that, I'm going to grab the move tool that I just grabbed. Okay, move tool, and we're going to move this down to make that spot a little bit bigger. See how that works? Now we're going to keep layer 6, which is the one we just, no, this one, which is the one we just moved. So with layer 6 selected, or actually you can even merge layer 6 with the background if you want to, but I'm just going to use layer 6 because that's where I'm at. I'm going to use that marquee tool again, and this time I'm going to go to the next box down about halfway, all the way to the bottom, right click and layer via copy, and then move tool to move it and make it a bit bigger, right? And we're going to keep doing that. So now I've got layer 7, and we're going to go about halfway down to the bottom, right click, layer via copy. Let's move it to make it bigger. 2 more, marquee tool, about halfway all the way to the bottom, right click, layer via copy, move tool, move it down. Let's see if any of these, I think that looks probably about right. This one might need to be a little bit more. So we're going to grab marquee tool one last time, halfway to the bottom, layer via copy, move tool, and we're going to move this just going to use my keyboard so that the line touches the bottom. So that gives me 5 larger sections on a 10 by 8. Now we still have these titles, and the titles are no longer in the right spot because we've made everything bigger. So all we need to do is make them all visible again. We're going to come back to each of those titles, click it, and drag it into the center of the box where they are supposed to go. Like that, that, and that. And I can be more precise if I wanted to be. Okay, so that is some advanced alterations for the journaling cards. I'm going to close out of this one, close out of that one, make sure there wasn't anything else. Nope, this is essentially the same thing here. So we're just going to do those 3. Okay, let's go to elements, and I'm going to show you the same thing here. So let's open up first this June. I think I'll just show you the June one here because the other one's the exact same. So we're going to crop this from a 3x4 into a 3x8 at 300 pixels per inch. And I want you to be the full, no. Ugh, so annoying. Okay. So I guess I will have to do it this way. That's okay though. All right, so almost there. All right, and then let's put that at the top. Like so, and hit the check mark for yes. Now let's make this print size so we can see what we're working with here. And in the same way, we're going to use that marquee tool again. So here's the marquee tool under the select options. We're going to draw the rectangle right underneath the this and that. We have the marching ants when I let go of the mouse. Then I can right click and layer via copy. With layer 1 selected, I can then use my move tool to move it down so that it is seamless on there. Now I can do this again. I can just duplicate this layer. It gives me another one, and that one I can move down again. And it looks like I need even one more. Duplicate the layer and move it to the bottom. I'm just going to use my keyboard or my mouse keys to make sure it's perfectly touching. Then once we have all of those layers where we want them positioned, we're going to select all of them, right click, and merge the layers together. That gives us our 3x8 journaling card. All right, so then let's do the tricky one. This one. Let's do summer. So first I want to create a new blank file. This time I'm going to make this 10 inches wide by 8 inches tall, 300 pixels per inch, and there we go. We're going to come back to our main card here, edit, and nope, select all, edit, copy, to our new one, edit, paste, there we go. Control T to transform, and then, right, I forget that you have to use the corners. Okay, transform, and then we're going to make this go all the way to the edges. Sure. Okay, and up to the top. Okay, so then let's merge these 2 layers together, and we can do the same thing again. So we can use that marquee tool to just select the bottom, let's do summer, and layer via copy. Then when we use that move tool, we can move it down to the bottom to fill in that extra space and give us one more section that we can fill out. Or we can do the same thing
as the other page. So let me see if I can get this done quickly. So we will highlight, let's do summer, layer via cut, click on the background. Next one, right click, layer via cut, click on the background. Next one, layer via cut, click on the background. 2 more to go. Draw the box, right click, layer via cut, click on the background, highlight the box, right click, layer via cut, and now we can hide all of those and we just have the background. With the background selected, we can do from the middle of the first one all the way down to the bottom, right click, layer via copy this time, and then we will move our line down a little bit to make it a bit bigger. Let's do the same thing again, making sure I've got that new layer selected. Draw a box all the way to the bottom, layer via copy, move tool, and slightly move it down. Okay, making sure we have layer 7 selected, marquee tool, from the middle to the bottom, right click, layer via copy, and move it. Okay, marquee tool from the middle all the way down to the bottom, right click, layer via copy, and move it. And I'm going to say that's probably good. I feel like this can go up a little bit. I made that one too big. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So we can then, it's a little bit off, but we're going to be okay with that. I'm going to grab all of those layers, so the background and all of the other ones with the grid, and we'll merge those together. Then I can bring back up my titles, and we just need to move them where they are supposed to go. We're just going to pretend that I did this precisely. But essentially it would go like this. And then once you have everything where you like it, highlight it all again, merge it together, and now you have just the one background element sized at 10 by 8. All right, so you see what I mean? It's pretty advanced. It's pretty, it's very tedious to get some of those cards altered, but the outcome is always worth it, in my opinion. It's so cool to see how you can take different cards and make them work for you in new and different ways. All right, friends, that is going to be our lesson for today. So your homework is going to be to take a 3x4 card and alter it so it is a 3x8 card. You can pick whichever one you want. I do recommend picking one that's got a fair amount of white space in the middle, especially if this is your first time trying it out. So a card that might look like this one, where we had a bunch of white in the middle, or the one that I used from June that has a bunch of white in the middle. I recommend using a card like that. Then I want you to pick a card and alter it so that it's something completely new. If you have the, what is this one? I think this one is from, I don't know where this card came from, actually. If it was a Stories by the Month card or what. But find a card where you can completely change it so that you are forced to do some of the more technical things. Yes, so for your homework, that's what I would like to see you do. So alter that 3x4 card into a 3x8, and then look at some of your other journaling cards that you have in your stash and see if there are some that you can try out this more complicated type of alterations. I'm sure you have something in your stash, just like I do in mine. Ones that are really good to look for are ones done in a grid like this one, or a card that looks like this is something that you could do a more complicated alteration with, again, by just using that marquee tool to highlight the boxes and then moving them and doing what you need to do with them. Like this one, you could probably alter fairly easily into a 3x8, I'm thinking, where you could have it where there's a lot more of these boxes, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to suggest that you do. If you have questions about any of this, feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to answer. Do my best to answer them in a way that makes sense. And that is going to be that. So next week, I'm going to show you how to isolate different portions of your journaling cards. So specifically a card like this one that has the sun element. So how can you isolate pieces from the cards in order to use them in different ways? So that's what we're going to go over next week. And we're going to just continue from there. All right, friends, I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you back here next week for our next Photoshop class.